Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Welcome back to the MCD podcast. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, thrift stores. I'm going to give you 10 tips today for shopping a thrift store successfully every time. I would love to encourage anybody and everybody to head into a local thrift store one time or many times to see what you can find. But I know a lot of people don't feel or have stopped in a thrift store and they find nothing and they think it's a waste of time and there's never anything good. And so they give it maybe one or two tries and then after that they give up. But I have found so many great things inside a thrift store. So I want to encourage you to try it again if that is you and see what you can find. So I'm going to give you 10 tips, 10 of my best tips for making it a successful trip every time. And I mean, I could talk about thrift store shopping forever, but I'm just going to kind of narrow it down today to some of the best tips to find the best stuff and kind of how to shop inside the store. So number one, you have to go in before you even walk through those doors. You have to put on like an open mind and just be able to see past what you're looking at. I know that sounds funny, but a lot of times when I'm picking things up at a thrift store, it may not be, I may be repurposing it. I may be coming home and painting it or dismantling it or only using a portion of it, or I have to DIY something else to go with it or whatever it is. But you have to have an open mind and see the potential in something when you are shopping in a thrift store, because you're not going to walk right in and, which I should stop and say, this has happened to me before, but walk right in and get the exact thing that you're looking for. So usually it entails some DIY, some paint, some elbow grease, a little bit of fixing, or maybe you're taking it apart and only going to use, like I said, half of it. Or like a lot of times I will pick up frames and I love maybe it's the picture inside, but I don't love the mat or the frame. Or maybe it's the frame I love and I don't like the picture and the mat inside. So that's just an example of what I mean by using half of it or some of it. So my number one first tip is to keep an open mind when you are going into a thrift store, because just look beyond the surface level and see if you can use it in a different way, or if it was a different color, would you like it, or would it fit that spot? So keep an open mind as you head in. Secondly, keep track of the sales that your thrift stores have. So most thrift stores will have some kind of sale. Maybe it's a colored tag on a certain day. Maybe it's every third Friday, everything's half off. Maybe they do a monthly sale where, like in May, all furniture is half off, or whatever it is. Usually most thrift stores have a sale, kind of like a schedule. So make sure you know what that is. Ask an employee. Our thrift stores here used to do coupons as well. So your thrift stores may have a coupon system as well. So just make sure, see what the sales are, see if they follow a certain day, a certain calendar, a certain, like you can always say every Thursday is this, or hours change it up. We do have kind of a color system in some of our thrift stores that kind of stays the same. But then, if they get an influx of furniture or something, you may walk in one day and they'll say furniture's half off just because they need to move the inventory. So make sure you know what the sales are. It will help you shopping your thrift stores. Number 3, I always say measure before you go. So if you are looking for something to fit a particular space in your home, make sure you know what the measurements are before you head into a thrift store, because the worst thing is when you think you have found the perfect piece for whatever it is you're looking for, and then you have to leave, head home, and measure it and come back and it's gone. Trust me, I've done it before. I've been there before. A lot of thrift stores will not hold things, and some thrift stores may. So that's another little policy you should check on as well. But Around here, they don't like to hold things unless you've paid for them, obviously, and then you can come back and pick them up. But I don't want to pay for something that's not going to work for what I need. So make sure you kind of know the measurements, and especially if it's like a furniture piece or something big that won't be easy to get rid of if it doesn't fit. So know your measurements before you go in. Okay, number 4, look in every aisle. So this is one of my favorite tips because there have been so many times that I have found the best stuff in the toy aisle. And when I say best stuff, I'm thinking like decor things that I could use, or vintage items, or, those things in the toy aisle. And that's usually because parents are in there with their kids, and then they end up in the toy aisle to pick their kids up, and then they decide against something they have in their cart or they're hanging onto, and they set it down. So all thrift stores are set up differently, but most of them are kind of categorized or organized in a certain way. So you may have a toy section, a furniture section, a basket aisle, clothing's on one end. Usually they're kind of organized in a certain way. But with that being said, don't skip any of those aisles. So if you're not even, like one of the thrift stores we have here, the clothing aisles, if you're not even looking for clothes, the tops of the clothing racks have kind of like shelves. And so there's stuff all over the shelves that aren't clothing at all. So I always go up and down those aisles just to check what's on those shelves. So make sure you're checking all the end cap, shelves, and the kids aisles. Even if you're not looking for toys, check over by the books. Somebody could have sent something down there. So just make sure you check, and it doesn't have to take long. It's a quick walk through every aisle. Just to make sure you're covering all the ground while you're there, because I have found the best stuff where you do not think you're going to find that thing. Okay, number 5, stick to a budget. So just like shopping in a Target, a TJ Maxx, wherever else, we shop, you can blow a budget in a thrift store just as easily. So stick to a budget, kind of know your price points for different things that you would be looking for or picking up. And you don't want to regret something that you bought, if it's really out of your budget, or it's hard sometimes. I've walked away from many things, but it could be like a $5 difference. Depending on how bad I'm looking for this thing, will decide if I'm going to pick it up or not. But I walk away if it's not in a certain price point that I'm willing to spend, or the budget that I have put aside for that certain item, or my thrift store trip. I have to walk away. So keep a budget in mind. It's just because it's at a thrift store doesn't mean it's a good price. A lot of thrift stores, and I hear this a lot from people when I'm sharing thrift store trips and stuff on my Instagram and Facebook, that thrift stores are getting, expensive. And a lot of times they are. It's the same in our thrift stores. Certain items, and there are so many different people pricing items, so you just never know. But certain items, they just are way too high priced, and just walk away from those pieces, because it's not worth you regretting it later on. And especially if your thrift store doesn't have a return policy, it's not something you can take back, which is another thing you should ask and know. Then it's just not worth it. So walk away if it's not in your budget. Okay, 1, 2, 3. How many have we done here? Number 6. We're on 6. So I think a lot of people, when I'm sharing, I share a lot of my thrifting trips on Instagram and Facebook, like I said, my YouTube channel. And I think people think that every time I go into a thrift store, I'm finding something. And that is absolutely not the case at all. There are so many times that I'm walking away with nothing, and it'll be weeks of me. I try to go into them once a week. When I'm not as busy, maybe I can do it more often, but there's so many times it'll be weeks or a month and I will not find anything, and be okay with that. That's okay. Just don't give up with, if you aren't finding anything, don't give up. You're not going to find stuff every single time. The thrill of the hunt is kind of it. That's what keeps me going. I think it's so much fun to see what I can find, but I'm not going to buy just anything and everything. I have to stick to that budget and my price points for certain items, and I'm okay and happy to walk out of a thrift store without finding anything. So just know that you're not going to find something every time. Okay, my next tip is to go often. So kind of along with the lines with, walking away with nothing, you will find things if you go often. And I know that's not, ideal for a lot of people. We're all busy. We're all working, or kids' schedules, or watching the kids, or it's just, life is busy. So I get it. But if you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, if you're running an errand to Target or, a bank, and there's a thrift store close by, just stop in. It doesn't have to be a long, it doesn't have to take hours. If you've got a quick 10 minutes, just walk through the aisles quick and see what you can find. But if you can do that more often, you will definitely find more things. So the more often you go, the better possibility that you're going to find the great stuff. So keep that in mind. Okay, number 8. So this is something that we couldn't do. Check the carts when they're just bringing them out. So a few years ago at our thrift stores, you could not touch those carts. So if they're pushing a cart full of new merchandise out onto the floor, they didn't want people rummaging through those carts. Now they have changed that rule. And so they will, even if they've got a bunch of carts, they will kind of push them out into a main aisle and just leave them there until the staff can get to them and kind of put them on the shelves. That is the best. I shouldn't say it's the best stuff, but that is the brand new stuff that nobody has gone through yet. So if you see carts of new merchandise coming out, make sure you go through those if you are able, if they allow you to do that, to see the new stuff coming out that nobody else has had a chance to kind of rummage through. So keep a lookout for those carts as they're bringing them out. Okay, number 9, have your phone ready. So I like to look up certain things. So I'm always looking on the hunt for vintage items and old items, and just, that's just how I decorate our home. And so I'm always looking up things as I find them. If I pick up something and it's like, what is this thing? It's really interesting. I always want to know about it. So always have your phone ready if you can kind of look things up. Same with if something's priced, you're like, this just seems so pricey. And maybe it's not a vintage item or an antique or anything like that. It's just, like something you could buy at Target or, TJ Maxx or something. If your phone's out, you can kind of look up what the price is in a retail store, and it kind of gives you a gauge, okay, this is actually cheaper, or I couldn't walk into TJ Maxx and actually get this for this price. So I'm on my phone all the time when I'm in a thrift store, just looking up different things. It's a good little tool to have while you're hunting for different items. Okay. And lastly, since we're just doing 10 today, I'm just doing 10 tips today. Grab a cart. That may sound funny, but there have been so many times that I walk into a thrift store and I think, okay, I've only got 10 minutes. I'm just going to, run through here quick. I'm just going to, I'm not going to find anything. And then I'm in the way back of the store, and I'm carrying my phone. I've got a little furniture piece under one arm, and I've got, I don't know, frames or lamps or something under. My arms are full. So as soon as you get in, grab a cart. Even if you only have 10 minutes, grab a cart, because this has happened to me so many times. You will set that thing down to go back up and get a cart, and somebody will pick it up right behind you and have it in their cart. It's happened. Trust me, it's happened. So even if you have 10 minutes, even if you don't think you're going to find anything, grab a cart to push along with you. You'll be happy that you do, especially if you find something at the way back of the store and you don't want to put it down, or your hands become full and you don't want to put it all down to get a cart, or another reason why I like to carry one around is I will be at the back of the store, like in a furniture section, and I can't lift, I need a cart to get whatever it is. We'll just say a small chest of drawers or something. I need it so I can get it to the front of the store. So just grab a cart. Grab a cart when you go in, and you'll be thankful you have it if you find some things, at the other end of the store. So those are 10 quick tips for shopping a thrift store. I wish I could encourage everybody to just to go into your local thrift stores, see what you can find, use some of these tips to have a successful trip every time. Be okay to walk out, without anything. Go often if you can. It doesn't have to take hours. It's a couple, 10 minutes here or there. Get to know your thrift stores, get to know the sales, get to know, how they organize the store. Do they have a return policy? Can you hold items there? Do you have to pay for them, or will they hold, items for you if you're thinking about them? So just and keep an open mind. Keep an open mind when you're shopping a thrift store. Think out of the box when you're looking at things and seeing things, because if you've been to my website, you will see there are so many ways to repurpose and upcycle and just change things. It may just be a paint color that will make it fit your style in your home so much better on the cheap. It's the best way to decorate your home exactly how you want it. Get the exact style you want without breaking the bank doing it. And so I'm super passionate about it. I fully believe that you can have your dream home, the home just like you see on HGTV or in magazines, without going broke doing it, without going into debt to do it. And this shopping thrift stores is a big part of that, and an easy way to find great items for your home on the cheap. So I hope these tips helped you. If you're ever out thrift shopping, share it on Instagram. Tag me at mycreativedays.com. I would love to see your thrifting trips. I'm sharing mine all the time. So it's so much fun to see somebody else doing it. So make sure to tag me so I can see it and I can cheer you on, because it would make my day to see more people heading into their thrift stores to see what they can find. So thanks for being here, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week.